and move them more frequently at much higher stock densities, right? So I can actually achieve this amount of fertility applied on a piece of ground in a single day with high enough stock density. All right? So that's how powerful that is. And that's how much, that means you don't need to buy fertilizer anymore. Okay? All right, Brix. We talked about Brix earlier today. Here's what Brix is, okay? It is a measure of the nutrient density in the dissolved solids of a plant, or the sap or juice of a plant, okay? And those nutrients include sugar, minerals, amino acids, proteins, lipids, and pectins. We measure it using an instrument called a refractometer. Again, this is a very, very good investment, okay? When I make investments on the farm or ranch now, folks, I always try to make them an investment in something that's going to actually earn me a return, rather than all this other stuff that doesn't. You know, the honest truth is, heavy metal, you know, equipment, all that, it rarely earns me a return. As a matter of fact, it's a cost and it rusts, okay? And so I want to make investments in things that make me money. Those include things like my portable fencing, a refractometer, a bat latch, okay? How much does a refractometer cost? Like an optical type? 100, 130 bucks, okay? Now, I hear people say, $100 or more? Are you kidding me? No way. But that same person just went out and bought a $100,000 tractor, okay? So I'm shaking my head at that. All right, so very small investment, easy to use. You can measure Brix every day, every week out there, okay? And here's why you need to do it, because with any, and these are just a handful of different forage types, but any forage, any plant growing out there, okay, can either be low Brix or high Brix. Any one of them, all right? Can be low or high Brix. If I want animal performance, I want to be here, okay, on my Brix, not here. I've measured Brix in pastures throughout Canada and the U.S., east to western U.S. Do you know the average Brix in almost every pasture throughout the U.S., no matter where they're located? What's the average range in Brix? 2 to 5%. That's pathetic, folks. I'm going to show you how bad that is with some data here in a minute. All right? Here's why we want high Brix. Because our research shows that it increases animal gains in performance, and it increases milk production and milk component production in dairy cows and in beef cows. Okay? So if I have higher Brix even in beef cows, I'm going to increase my milk components, and that's going to increase my calf performance and health. Okay? Also, compounding, cascading effects. Remember, I said I'm going to keep repeating that. All right? Higher Brix also creates plants that are more resilient because they're more resistant to stressors like frost, freezes, drought, heat. They're more resistant to plant disease and insects. Okay? Higher Brix forages actually taste sweeter. You can taste it. If you taste high Brix forages, they will taste sweeter to you. Low Brix forages will actually taste sort of bitter. They won't be very palatable. High Brix forages, you would like to put them in your salad. Okay? They literally taste sweeter. And so livestock, deer, other wildlife can immediately identify higher Brix. If you find areas that deer frequent, they're higher Brix areas. Guaranteed. Okay? Higher Brix than the others around them. And it actually produces a very pleasing aroma. That's one of the ways they identify high Brix, is through the aroma. Okay? When you go into the produce section of a typical grocery store today, what do you smell? What's wrong with that? Is there anything wrong with that? I think so. All right? When you go into a produce section, your senses should be assaulted with aroma, pleasing aroma, right? You should smell melons and cucumbers and tomatoes and peaches and all of that, shouldn't it? So it should be an incredible experience, and all of these aromas should be there. Why are they not there? Low Brix. If you have a refractometer and you buy this produce, and we've done a lot of this, if you buy it from the local grocery store, it's low Brix, and it tastes like low Brix. When I was a kid growing up in South Carolina, we were one of the major peach producing states in the United States. We had peach orchards all around us, okay? And we even had a small orchard on our own farm. And when peaches were ripening, you could smell them from miles away if the wind was right, okay? Very pleasing. And when you grabbed one of those peaches off the tree and you bit into it, it was soft and juicy, so juicy that the juice dribbled down your chin, right, and dribbled down your forearm and all of this, and you couldn't stop eating them. They were so sweet. Now, if I go in a grocery store today to buy a peach, first of all, I can grab that peach, put it all the way up to my nose, and can't smell a darn thing. Okay? If I try to bite into it, I may chip my tooth. It's so hard. And if I took that peach and threw it at you, I could knock you out with it. Okay? So, that's where we're at, folks. That's where we're at. All right. Here's why high Brix is so important. If your average Brix is below 5%, without supplementation, your cattle can't gain more than about a pound a day. Okay, without supplementation. Now this is why ruminant nutritionists tell you on pastures to supplement with protein, blocks, and things like that, right? Okay? The reason being, and they don't realize this, the nutritionists aren't understanding this. But the reason you're having to supplement is because you got low Brix forage. All right? And you're trying to get greater utilization by supplementing protein or something else. All right? But if my Brix is greater than 15%, now I've got feedlot type gains on pasture. The same forages. There is no magic bullet forage, folks. I can finish cattle on any forage, anywhere, if it's high Brix. I can't finish them on any forage, anywhere, if it's low Brix. Okay? Yes, sir?
What makes high Brix and what makes low Brix?
High Brix is the result of building your soil organic matter and your soil microbial population and their activity. Okay? Low Brix is a result of poor soil microbial activity. Bottom line. Bottom line. If you build microbial activity, you will build high Brix. As a matter of fact, we've done this over and over and tracked it. And what we have found is that, for instance, like even using like the corn stuff, okay? We've tracked this after applying corn within 1 week. Brix has doubled, okay, in those exact same forages. So Brix can respond that quickly if you build the microbial population that quick, okay? So those are the primary factors, and if we improve soil microbial population and activity, we will inadvertently improve Brix automatically. Now, here's the deal. For every 1% increase in Brix, we'll get about 1/10 to 3/10 of a pound average daily gain. Okay? And in the dairies that I'm working with, the grass-fed dairies, if we just simply go from a 3% to a 6% Brix, that's pretty easy to do. Okay? But we've done this over. The reason I love working with dairies is because with a dairy, we're milking them every day, right? And I know in that milk tank every day exactly what's going on. With our grass-fed beef, how often are you weighing them? You know, so you don't really know until the end what's going on with the grass-fed beef cattle, right? But with dairy, I know every single day whether I made a mistake or not. And so the beauty about doing all of this with the grass-fed dairy is that we can make quick adjustments. And we know, because we've done this, if I take that Brix from 3 to 6% within 24 hours, okay, those cows have jumped 10 to 20% in fluid milk production and another 15% in milk component production in 24 hours. That's how rapidly Brix influences the performance in the cattle. Okay? So this allows us to be able to produce very high quality grass-fed beef at well under 2 years of age routinely. Yes, sir.
What did the Brix changes look like on your property in Mississippi from when you started?
We started, they were at 2% average, and now, now the data I presented earlier said 15 to 22%. That was 2 years ago. Now we're averaging over 20%, and we got some in the mid and high 20s.
How much did you get per year though for the first 3 or 4 years as you started?
Oh, the first 3 or 4 years. The first year we jumped from that 2% to about 8%, which was a pretty profound change, but not high enough. But the second year we were already in the low teens. The third year we were in the mid to high teens. Yeah.
So it really doesn't take that long.
No, not at all. And again, you know, you can speed it up. Like we have got doubling of Brix within 2 weeks using like quarter and that kind of thing. So you can speed it up, you know. But again, I don't want to have to rely on any product all the time. So I'm going to use something like that to get rapid improvement, and then I want my management to take over from there.
Yep.
Yes, sir. So here's some of our data, okay? And you can see that as we improve Brix, our average daily gain is almost a linear increase until we get to these upper reaches of average daily gain, okay? So a significant, profound increase in average daily gain as we increase Brix. And here's some field trials that we did in a single season, okay? A single season of adaptive grazing compared to the conventional grazing. Different states that we did this in, down here. This is your plant Brix, okay, in percent here. And we split the fields, okay, or split the farms. And so we continued conventional grazing on part, and then the adaptive grazing on part, okay? And in a single season, you can see that with conventional grazing, here's where our Brix was, and the green bar is where our Brix was with the adaptive grazing. So again, in a single season, a pretty profound impact. Yes, sir?
Is this typical of what we expect in the colder climates?
Yes, absolutely.
What were your cow numbers per acre? I mean, how you split it up? I mean,
Well, the conventional grazing, again, was conventional, so, you know, the 1,000, 1,500 pounds per acre effective impact. And here, the cow numbers were the same. It was the stock density. Okay, so we just split the herds, is all we did, in equal numbers. But here, you know, here was conventional grazing. Here we went up to 150 to 200,000 pounds per acre. Make sense? Just much more frequent movement.
Okay, so basically the difference is, you're talking frequent movements as per day or?
Per day. This was just once a day movement. Okay? All right. Here's another thing how Brix does for you. Okay? Produces very good deer. On that farm in Mississippi, prior to this, you were lucky to kill a 110, 120 class deer. That would have been a very good deer. Now we're routinely killing 170 plus class deer off the same land. Okay? So high Brix produces much better wildlife as well. All right. Grazing. Okay? For optimal gains in performance on grass-fed beef or dairy, this is not where we want to be grazing. Okay, this is highly vegetative, early maturity forage. Look at the ratio between protein and sugars or energy. Okay, significantly higher protein relative to the energy. All right, rather, this is where we want to be grazing. This is our sweet spot for both high gains in grass-fed beef production and for high performance in our grass-fed dairy. We want to graze when our grasses are mid-stage of maturity or slightly beyond. Now we have high sugars and protein where it needs to be. Okay? This will, if you finish cattle on this level of protein, or 20% or above, it'll actually produce an off flavor throughout the entire carcass. And you don't want that. Yes, sir.
Will they actually lose weight with protein too much?
They will. Yes, sir. And you see the runniness of the manure and all of that? Yeah. And the reason they create that off flavor is because they're trying hard to create the excess nitrogen in the energy. And it's an inefficient process. You create uric acid in the animal's body, and that creates that livery flavor throughout the body. Yeah. So it's not an efficient process. Constant observation is important. So here's some important grazing tips for you. Okay? When you finish grass finishing cattle, calculate your dry matter availability and allow them a minimum of 3 to 3.5% dry matter per head per day in forage consumption. Okay? Secondly, on your finishing cattle, I would like them to take more than 30% of the leaf material available. That means they're getting the ice cream. So I'm moving them forward rapidly. If I need to have a follower group, a leader follower, I can do that. Okay? To clean it up a little more. But I don't want my finishing cattle to take more than 30%. Move them forward rapidly to not allow too many bites of the same plant. Here's what happens. If they keep eating on the same plant and they keep getting into the highly lignified material, the stalk or stem, right? And their plant of nutrition does this. When I'm putting finish on them, I want that plant of nutrition to do this, to be steady, not doing this. Okay? That's not good for a degree of finish. Know your Brix content. And here's a little trick about this. First of all, increase the Brix totally, but then secondly, the highest Brix in a plant every 24-hour photo period or every day is early to mid-afternoon. Okay? So they're always going to be higher Brix in the afternoon than they are in the morning. Because those carbohydrates cycle down after the sun goes down to the base of the plant, and then when the sun comes back up, due to photosynthetic activity, they start cycling back up to the tips of the leaf material. Yes, sir?
So if you're cutting hay, the same would apply?
That's correct. That's absolutely correct. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How does the Brix get affected, talking about stored forages? When you cut the hay, what happens, and is that why we try to make wet hay baleage for finishing purposes?
Well, certainly you'll maintain higher Brix in the wet versus cured. Okay, so your haylage is inside. But if you build higher Brix and you cut it in the early afternoon when it's got the photo period higher Brix, you're still going to maintain higher Brix in that hay, even cured. Okay.
You lose half?
You'll lose
75%?
No, you'll lose about 40%. It will be significantly better than low Brix. I mean, way better than low Brix. And you'll see immediate. As a matter of fact, the cattle will eat it much more readily. They'll prefer it over the low Brix hay every time, and their gains, their performance will be much better. Okay, we talked about, so if you're going to move your cattle to new paddocks just once a day, make that move in the early afternoon, midnight, early afternoon, so that you're taking advantage of the highest Brix of the day. Just that one little thing right there, that one thing, can increase your average daily gain up to a half a pound a day. Okay? So why don't we take advantage of that? That's simple. That's simple. Don't move them in the morning, move them in the afternoon. Yes, sir.
Oh, I heard a question, so I guess I didn't quite get no question, but I think it was, we're gonna go hay more in mid-afternoon.
Well, early, you do it from midday or starting about 11 a.m. or so on, and your Brix will be high. Yes, sir.
The other question to that, and I think it was before, but I didn't ask it in there. Part of the conventional grazing, I think in history, you always had pastures overgrazed, conventional grazing, and you always saw cow patties,
Yep.
with grass growing,
Yep.
and they've always said that patch of grass will always be sour and the cows never eat it. So how's that all blend in with your grazing and stuff, where the cows don't eat the grass that goes up to the manure pile?
Well, at higher stock densities, you don't even have that problem.
Pardon?
At high stock densities, you don't even have that problem. Okay? First of all, at higher stock densities, those manure paths aren't staying around like that. So you don't have that situation even created in the pastures anymore. That goes away. Okay? And that's because your soil microbial activity increases, your dung beetle population increases, and even the higher densities of the cattle themselves spread those manure pads out. Okay, so they've been rapidly incorporated into the ground, and I know exactly what you're talking about, because you can see them in a lot of pastures. You know, and we used to have a lot of those as well, but as you change your management, all that goes away, and you know, and that whole problem just simply disappears.
Well, since I'm an employee of the employer of the cow, I love that, that was good. But I have a practice I've done years ago on my first time farming. I go around, I have a drive with cow patties out in my pastures, and I have so many pastures on them, about 8 different ones, regardless. But they look good in my grass, my pastures come back better, and they eat that area. Am I doing something wrong, doing that, drag them out with patties? With a drag?
That's okay, but you shouldn't have to do that.
Right, no.
Right,
Well,
right.
new
But that's
concept.
okay. No, you're not doing anything wrong.
No, I understand the new concept was, you know,
Right,
a lot of people are gonna go into that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
No, there's nothing wrong with it. That's helpful.
You need to-
If you don't have the decomposition, the natural decomposition, that's helpful. Yes, sir. Okay, so we want more of this and less of the hay feeding, right? That's our objective. And, let's see. I'm gonna move towards this right now. And we can come back to some finishing stuff. Y'all been following all the presidential debates and all of that on both sides. You know, down south, we have a say, a phrase that we can say, and it allows us to be able to say anything about anybody that we want to, as long as we qualify it with this phrase. And that phrase is, bless their hearts. Okay? So for instance, you know, we can say like, you know, Josephine, boy, that baby she just had, that's the ugliest baby I ever saw, bless its heart. You know? But, you know, I've been trying to follow the presidential debates, you know, both sides and all of this, and see what they're saying and everything else. And the only thing I have to say about all of our presidential candidates is bless their hearts. So, hi. Now, this is a tool that's available to you. We developed this through another project that I am working with called the Pasture project out of the Windrock Foundation. And you have a link in your slides, towards the end of your slides, that allows you to go to this, you know, and you can access this. This is an interactive spreadsheet, right? Now, you don't have the spreadsheet in your handout, but you have the link to it. So you can download it. It's an Excel spreadsheet. It's interactive. And what we've done is we've built in these shaded cells are data entry cells. So you can enter in your own data in these shaded cells, and the white cells are calculation cells, okay? And so when you enter in data for your particular farm in these shaded cells, all of those other cells will automatically recalculate, all right? We have a lot of people using this tool now, and so we have a cow-calf worksheet right here, and that allows you to be able to determine potential for profitability and make management decisions, financial management decisions on your cow-calf operation. We have a stocker worksheet, a finishing worksheet, and a direct market worksheet. And then we have a 5-year cash flow projection. So all the data you feed into here automatically feeds in to your cash flow projections, okay? So, again, it's a very, very good tool to use. I'm going to just show it to you real quick here, and y'all can go home and play around with it. But basically, you know, let's say you're a cow-calf producer, but you're also grass finishing, okay? So you can transfer that calf after weaning to your finishing herd and enter in the weaning value of that calf. So you need to enter in the proper value or price that you would get for that calf if you sold it at weaning at that point, okay? So right now, a 550 weight calf is worth about $1.75, and that means that you're going to charge yourself $963 for that calf to properly account for it, okay? So that's what that calf would have cost you if you would have went out and bought him to add him to your finishing herd. And you've got to properly account for that and assign that value. So if you have a targeted finish weight of 1,150 pounds, then it'll automatically calculate for you your average weight from weaning to finish. So that's 850. If you're estimating that you're going to average 2.1 pounds average daily gain through your finishing period, then it's going to take you 286 days to finish that animal, and it's going to take you 4.1 tons of dry matter to finish that animal. You can enter in the cost of your harvested forage, your estimated dry matter yield, your feeding waste and loss, and it'll give you the cost per ton of the dry matter that your feed goes gather. You can enter in the cost of your pasture per acre, the dry matter yield, and the percent waste on pasture, and it'll give you the cost of pasture on the dry matter basis. You can enter in, and then it'll calculate a total cost of farm-grown feed for the finishing phase. You can add in purchase feed and non-feed costs like vet meds, maintenance, equipment, labor, all that. And it'll give you the total cost of finishing of that calf. And in this scenario, that's $1,460, okay, that it costs you to take that calf from conception all the way to finish. If you sell it on a dress weight basis for $2.70 a pound to a branded program, and your dressing percent was 58%, you got $1,801 in return for that calf, right? That also means that you had a net margin per calf of $384. It took you 1.6 acres to do that, and you got a net return per acre of $243 per acre, right? Now what happens if you get $3 per pound for that calf versus $2.70, and it's still dressed 58%? Well, you went all the way up to $5.84 on your per calf and $3.69 on your profit per acre. So you can play around with this and enter in any possible scenario, okay? Now, if you're doing direct marketing, now you have post-harvest costs, right? So that's what you would have received for that calf, and that's your profit if you would have sold it to a branded program, all right? With those performance and cost parameters in there. Now, what about post-harvest? So, you're going to charge transport to the plant, cost per head to the plant, cost per head for a kill fee, cost per head for fabrication, and that's cut and wrap, package, all of that, and then your total processing, including transport, okay? Now, for some of you, this will be more. For some of you, it may be less. Where do y'all typically fall? More, okay? Serious? Per head?
Yeah, application cuts are a bit higher.
Okay. Wow.
Up to 90 cents.
Really? Up to 90 cents a
90
pound?
cents a pound.
$1.10.
$1.10 a pound?
USDA, you know?
Well,
You should raise that.
They don't make it.
God.
It's small.
So I'm going to go to 90. Okay. Let's look how this changed things. Now all of a sudden, you're $200 more per head, $684. Okay, that sounds more like what y'all are experiencing. All right. Then you got cold storage cost, your retail beef transport cost, marketing and sales costs per head. All these are per head costs. And then we assign a miscellaneous per head cost. Okay? So your total post-harvest cost was $820. All right? Your total, okay. We're right up against the break. I actually have some slides here in just a short time, and I think we'll answer that question. And if I don't fully answer it for you, ask me.
I'll get you back.
Yeah. All right. So, we're going to break. All right? So what, 2:33, right? Long break? Gives you time for a nap. All right. Some more benefits from adaptive grazing. Manure distribution. Okay? Now, if we have just a very light rotation, the vast majority of your nutrients from manure and urine are going to be applied around water and shade, and not out in the pastures. Okay? So the more frequent your rotations, the more even your coverage of manure and urine across all pastures, across the entire farm. And that's what a lot of people don't realize is that, again, with light rotations or continuous grazing, you don't have manure applied across the entire farm. It's just applied in concentrated areas. So you get toxicities built up, and then in other areas, you don't have near enough. So here's the deal. With continuous grazing, it takes 27 years to get one pile of manure for every square yard of pasture. 27 years, okay? But if you move one time a day, it takes 1 year to achieve that same goal, okay? That's much higher fertility, folks, across all of your ground.
Question, you're getting out of subject. I used to spread manure in my pastures when I was milking cows, and I got yelled at by my father. And I want to get some of the bigger farms now. They have tankers. I want to bring them in, but a couple feel, oh, it's a bad idea. I mean, what is your plan? Have somebody coming in with a liquid manure tanker and just hitting different parts of your pasture?
Oh, that's fine. That's fine, yeah. No, I don't have a problem with that. But I still want you to manage them with your livestock once you've made that application. Okay? All right, so here's the value of that manure application. If you make frequent moves at higher densities, here's what you can achieve in terms of fertilizer application, okay, that your cows are applying. So here's their daily output. On a mature cow, here's the daily output of N, P, and K, all right? Now, so to put out this much NPK, which will fertilize anything, all right, a corn crop, anything, 100 cows weighing 1,000 pounds each times 11 grazing days on an acre, and that's not 11 continuous days, that's just 11 days throughout that year, will give you this amount of fertility. Okay? So, if you want to have that same impact in fewer days, what do? You can still take the same 100 cows, but you type